afternoon, and thanks for stopping by Across the Fence. I'm Keith Silva. Bat Week begins today, October 24th, and runs through Halloween. This international celebration is designed to raise awareness about the need for bat conservation. Bats are some of Mother Nature's hardest workers, staffing the night shift, of course, by eating tons of insects, pollinating plants, and spreading seeds that grow into new plants and trees. When we here on Across the Fence want to get a bit batty, we put out the bat signal for Alyssa Bennett. She's the small mammal biologist with the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. And joining Alyssa is the Batman to her Batwoman, Barry Genzlinger. He is the co-founder of the Vermont Bat Center. Thank you both for coming in and talking bats with us today.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Glad to be here.
And Barry, you have a great hat on. I hope we can see that. A bat hat. Alyssa, remind us about the health of Vermont's bat population and where and when viewers can see bats.
Bats are susceptible to a number of threats, including white-nosed syndrome, which is probably the one people are most familiar with, that really killed off millions of bats. And now some of our populations are starting to recover, which is exciting. In terms of what they're doing this time of year, bats are starting to migrate to their winter sites, which for some is underground in caves and mines, and others that's flying south for the winter like geese do to warmer climates.
And the best time to see, I know we're getting, it's International Bat Week, but definitely, so you're going to see less bats at sunset, right?
Right, less and less bat activity. So if you want to see some still, the best way to do that is to wait for a night when it's not raining and it's warm, above 50 degrees, and low winds. And that's when you might see activity, especially around water bodies.
Okay, not too many of those days left in October and early November. Barry, I was saying earlier before we started, we had Alyssa on a few months ago, and she told us you've got to meet Barry, so thank you for being on here.
Yes.
Tell us about the Vermont Bat Center.
The Vermont Bat Center is a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to provide educational programs and information and to rescue and rehabilitate bats by supporting our licensed bat rehabilitators in Vermont. That's what the center is all about.
Okay, so yeah, let's, as a warning to our viewers, if you get a bat in your house, probably call the Vermont Bat Center or call Barry or Alyssa. Or Alyssa. And you nurse bats back to health. This is not for the general public. We should not be getting any eyedroppers or anything to nurse bats back to health. We should bring it to a professional.
Right. And if they call the Vermont Bat Center or they call Alyssa and she's not there, her message says, call the Vermont Bat Center. And that gets people in contact with someone who can answer all their questions. So if they have caught a bat, or they found a bat outside, or found one in the street, or any number of scenarios, if they call, we can help them properly deal with whatever the situation is.
And bats, like birds, can be rehabilitated.
Yes.
We have some images from your Facebook page, which I would definitely suggest that folks check out. Barry's phone will come into play in a minute, trust me. So we have some pictures here from you rehabilitating bats. And as we cycle through these pictures, there's one in particular that I wanted to ask you about. This bat here, damaged wing, or hard to see what's going on?
Well,
this is definitely a damaged wing.
This is a damaged wing caused by the white nose fungus.
Oh, okay.
The previous slide was of the beginning problems with the white nose fungus, and this is the deterioration. You can see little tiny areas that are not nice, smooth areas, and this is what happens over time. The fungus has gotten on the bat, and its immune system attacks the fungus, and it destroys its own wing tissue.
Okay, and as we cycle through some of these other pictures, there is another one coming up I wanted to ask you about. What do you do once you rehabilitate the bat?
Anytime a bat is rehabilitated, like all wildlife, rehabilitators return that bat to the point of origin. So if the bat came from a particular town, it will be released in that town.
This is the image I wanted to ask you about. Very interesting rehabilitated story here. What is that on the side of the bat?
That white stuff on the side of the bat is spray foam insulation.
Okay.
A person was insulating around their windows in the attic, and in preparation for finishing the attic into a room. And as they sprayed the foam insulation in around the window, there was a bat tucked in the crevice. And the bat got insulation it got insulated. So now we have a bat that is unable to do anything. Its wing is plastered to its side, and the person was able to gently retrieve the bat and call us, and we were able to take that bat and get all of the insulation off it. Once it was back healthy again, it was released and back doing what it should be doing.
So you were saying they need to be released at the point of origin. So when you rehabilitate a bat, you can't just set them free. You need to bring South Burlington bats back to South Burlington, not to Burlington.
That's correct.
Okay. Or not to Fairfax or St. Albans.
And of course, that is one of the problems that we have. A bat that comes from Bennington that gets rehabilitated way up north here has to go back to Bennington. So in a typical year, we might drive 300 miles during release time, taking bats in a loop down south over to the west, back up north.
Very territorial bats are.
Oh, yes.
We've got some props here, and this is where I mentioned your phone, or you've got your headlamp here. Alyssa will help me. This is something that you have done for many years, is building bat houses. So this is a bat condo.
That is a bat condo.
Okay, so this is a bat condo. There are baffles here, and as we tilt this back down, there we go. Alyssa, you are earning your keep. We can see inside there are these chambers. So tell me about these chambers, Barry.
Each of those chambers is 3/4 of an inch thick.
Okay.
And it got to be a measurement that is used universally because a whole bunch of crazy people started studying bats and recording the data way back in, let's see, that was in 1998.
Okay.
There was a national program, and people built all kinds of bat houses, all shapes, sizes, colors, and what we determined was 3/4 of an inch, and in the Northeast painted black.
Painted black in the Northeast.
In the Northeast. If you're putting a bat house up in the Northeast, you want the sun to warm the bat house. If you're putting it up in Florida and you paint it black, you're going to end up cooking the bats, which is not good. We don't like that.
We don't want to cook bats.
No.
These chambers, 3/4 of an inch, you said?
3/4 of an inch.
How many bats can live in the bat condo?
In the bat condo, we can probably house 300.
300 bats.
Yes.
Okay. We have another bat house here, and much as I would like Alyssa's help, I think I can swing this one. So the first thing I want to do is show this on the side. So this is very thin. There's not a lot of room here.
Not a lot of room.
Not a lot of room.
3/4 of an inch.
3/4 of an inch. And if we come down to the side again, we've got, I guess, one chamber. One chamber. And so the bats fly in on the bottom and crawl up to the top.
Yep.
Is there multiple families, or how many bats in here?
This would be a colony of multiple bats from multiple females. Babies are born in the bat house.
Okay.
This style bat house is less likely to have a big colony than this 4-chamber one.
Sure.
This might be a hangout for a bunch of males. Call it a bachelor pad.
A bachelor pad. Okay. So they're very thin. Put it on a pole, the side of a house, the side of a shed or something?
Yeah, the big thing here is not only color, but height.
Height.
When bats have solid wings, so when they come out of this for their flight path, they come out in a arc downward.
Okay.
So if you put it too close to the ground, an enterprising fox will hang out there, and when the bat comes out, he gets a little bat snack. So we want to make sure we put them high enough up so that arc keeps them well above the range of their predators.
And additional research has found that they do best on buildings. They actually get occupied most on structures, especially where you know that bats are already living there.
Okay.
So we really recommend them most of the time where bats are being kicked out of an attic or something like that. There are safe ways to get bats out of those buildings, and then a bat house is kind of a mitigation tool to help those displaced bats to have a more appropriate place to roost. They also can be used on poles. That's the second best place. And we recommend usually multiple bat houses back to back, so you have one in a cooler facing direction and one in a warmer direction. The reason the bigger boxes work better is there are many rooms. Just like in your house, if it's too hot upstairs, you go downstairs. It allows bats to move around because they don't have like a little tiny iPhone that they pull out to check the weather in the morning.
They don't.
So they need to be able to move. And then we also have the venting areas on the bat houses as well. So all those features are super important, and there are free designs available.
Yes.
Yes,
well.
you said
this
there
book.
was a couple of books that are available, maybe even from your local library. Merlin Tuttle is the gentleman who did these, and we've got some, we'll show some web addresses at the end where people can go and get the design to build these houses. This bat house. Wonderful.
And this bat house.
Alyssa, I did want to add, as I was writing the script for this and getting ready for this program, it seemed like a dumb question, but we talk about this when you're on, which is a lot of ideas about bats. If you're going to build a bat house, you're going to attract bats to your house. What are some of the things that we should not worry about with bats? Rabies, pets getting involved, what?
The biggest thing is keeping them out of your living space. So
Okay.
rabies is going to be transmitted through a bite or a scratch. There are other things we consider if it's found in a bedroom with a sleeping person. But if you're keeping them out of your living space, there's no concern.
Okay.
So really making sure your house is sealed off like you would for weatherization and to keep any other kinds of pests or things like rodents out of there. You're just doing the same for keeping bats out of your living space. So if they're on the outside of the house, then you want to just think about where the droppings are.
Right.
So don't hang this above your doorway. Hang it above a little flower bed, and those droppings, the guano is great.
It's great
fertilizer.
for fertilizer.
High
Yeah, yeah. Just about a minute left. I want to let folks know that during Bat Week, Alyssa, what is the Vermont Department of Fish and Wildlife doing? Any special events?
Yeah, sometimes we lend out this bat kit that we have to teachers, and they use that to educate folks on bats. And then there's a festival going on, a wildlife festival down in Castleton, Vermont, and a jack-o'-lantern hike, and there'll be some bat displays there so that people can learn more about bats and why they're not scary.
Why they're not scary and they're not dangerous on October 30th. If you have questions about bats that we didn't get to, please visit the Vermont Fish and Wildlife's website. The address is on the screen. And for your other bat-related questions and just to hang out with someone cool like Barry, you want to visit the Vermont Bat Center. There's their website there on the screen, or you can search Vermont Bat Center on Facebook. Thank you both so very much. This was wonderful. All this great stuff about bats, and to bring bats into our living space, not into our living space, but our area. So thank you both very much.
You're welcome.
Very welcome.
That takes care of Across the Fence for today. My thanks to our batty crew behind the scenes here at WCX, and to you, our viewers, for stopping by Across the Fence.